reflecting on the dramatic developments in the Middle East and North Africa, which are still continuing, they of course happen in countries where the United Nations doesn't have a political presence on the ground, and where DPA needs to be ready to work very quickly with the agencies that are there, and of course would not be expected to have provision in the regular budget for the kind of activities it then needs to undertake. And in my own case, the Secretary General was asked by the international community to have the United Nations take the lead in the post-conflict planning for Libya, and of course that couldn't have been responded to in the necessary time scale were it not for access to immediate funds. When the Secretary General appointed me as Special Advisor for the post-conflict planning for Libya, the Special Envoy for Libya, Mr. Al-Khatib, was already actively engaged in mediation efforts, and his own grueling travel schedule, as well as the support to him from DPA, was funded through extra budgetary resources, and if that had not been readily available, the UN would simply not have been able to do its core essential function. But then too, when we began the post-conflict planning process, my small team was funded out of extra budgetary resources. We then had also assigned to us a senior official made available by the DOCO and UNDP, so that we fully involved the agencies, and people were seconded from different parts of the system to work part-time with us, so we had a really good joined up integrated planning process. I indeed needed to travel to Benghazi, to meetings of the International Contact Group and so on. And it also was important to put people on the ground in Benghazi, both to report politically on developments there and to begin to do some of the investigation preparatory to electoral planning. So all of that required dependence on extra budgetary funding. This put us, I think, in a position to respond very promptly when events in Libya moved more quickly than many of us anticipated. So that with the fairly sudden fall of Tripoli, we were ready when the Council was ready to mandate the United Nations Support Mission in Libya, UNSMIL. In fact, I was already on the ground with a small team in Tripoli the day that mandate was passed by the Security Council. And again, we could not have had our first personnel on the ground so rapidly, or the air movements that were required if the extra budgetary funding had not been there. We now have a political mission on the ground in Libya, addressing already key areas which were identified with Libyan partners. The electoral process that will then give rise to the constitutional process is absolutely critical, and the Libyans across the board, including across civil society, have strongly desired a UN role there. Transitional justice, the difficult balance between accountability for a terrible legacy of human rights violations, but also the need for reconciliation. And then the task of maintaining public security in future on the basis of a properly functioning police force and standing down those who've taken up arms and dealing with the proliferation of weapons.